We saw what the Niners tried to do with Mike McGlinchey. That was a first-round pick that they didn't extend. Now we got another first-round pick. Brandon Aiyuk, he's up for an extension. They could extend his contract today. Something tells me they won't, at least not today, probably not this offseason, maybe next offseason. What do you think the Niners should do with Brandon Aiyuk?
Well, you and I have had this conversation privately, I think you trade away wide receivers before you sign them, and you just go get younger at that position, because I feel like there's so many good wide receivers. There's every year in the draft. There's so many of them, and the game, it makes it so easy for wide receivers. Like, so I understand the value of a wide receiver is there, right, because of the passing game and all that. But the problem is, because the game is easier for a wide receiver that would normally be a B is now like an A- or an A. So you
can't touch him. You can't touch him. You can't touch the quarterback.
Yeah,
right?
You're getting more value. So why are you going to pay a premium price for a guy where you can get something cheaper that can do
most of the same?
Yeah, most of the same thing. Like, it's better to spend your money or spend your capital at positions where it's more difficult to do that job. Like, I would argue corner, like spend on corner, because if you can get a guy, I know it's difficult to get, right? But if you can get a corner that can cover without getting flagged, without like that, there's not a lot of those in the league.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's the same principle on the offense. Like, offensive linemen are hard. Good offensive linemen are tougher to find than good D linemen. Good corners are tougher to find than good wide receivers. It's just wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a lot more difficult. So spend something on where it's more difficult to obtain, and now you can trade. That's why last year I was an advocate for trading away Debo, because I thought he was a great player, and he absolutely should get paid. I'm not advocating that he shouldn't, I'm not saying that Brandon Aiyuk shouldn't, but I think there's value in just keep refreshing your roster with younger receivers. Trade them. Right. Get a younger guy. Trade him.
That's what Kansas City's doing, and it seemed like at the time with Debo, well, you can't really replace him because he's a running back and a wide receiver. And if you get rid of him, you have to get two players. Well, you know what? Running backs are easy to find, and you could have traded him for a legit wide receiver. Because right now, he's not looking like a legit wide receiver.
They did replace him. They got a running back that can play wide receiver. They did replace him.
They did, and they also drafted a running back and drafted a wide receiver back to back. So they tried. But now here's the thing. Like, I'm with you. I don't think they should probably extend Brandon Aiyuk. They've extended too many, and I think at this position they could trade him and get someone probably just as good. But also, the extension process with him is going to be difficult. And if Debo if we thought the Debo one was uncomfortable, this one could be worse, because Debo is coming off an All-Pro year. There's not that much the Niners could say to him. All these extensions that come for players coming off, All-Pro or Pro Bowl years. George Kittle, Fred Warner, Eric Armstead, Trent Williams, all of them had a lot of leveraging power. Aiyuk doesn't have that. He's been consistent. He hasn't missed a game, but he hasn't been a Pro Bowler yet. And Parag's going to use that against him. So Ayuk's proud. He's also a little salty, and I wonder how this process is going to go when they start telling him that he's not that good.
Right, and there's also Brandon Aiyuk is not in the Cabo clique.
No,
I don't think he's going to Cabo with those guys. So
I don't think so.
There's a different relationship there, right? Like, even with the Debo combo and all that. I mean, the way Debo talks is he's very close with Kyle, even with all
friends.
Right.
Kyle says it with him.
They always have that to fall back on.
Like last offseason, Kyle's like, look, people are like, why are you so confident it's going to work out with Debo? He's like, because I have a very close relationship with Debo. I know Debo. I'm going to work this out. With Aiyuk, it's always much more like a tough love relationship, right?
Yeah, like if Brandon Aiyuk really gets pissed off and then he's feeling contract, are you going to be able to recover from that? Because I don't know that there's that connection there.
Exactly. And it seems like it's going that direction right now. He's already posturing, right? I already said they're going to use his lack of accolades against him. And he just came out a couple days ago and tweeted, hey, here are my accolades. 1,000 yards as a fourth option to run first offense. Like, what he's saying is, it's your fault I don't have accolades. You know what I mean? You bury me in the pecking order. You run the ball. And you know what? He's right. He's right. to me, I look at Brandon Aiyuk and I see Torrey Holt, but on this team, they're never going to use him like that. Maybe not quite as fast as prime Torrey Holt, but quite similar. And on this team, he's never going to be that. Although I think he's a more consistent, better player than Debo and Kittle. And I think he's a more dangerous receiver than Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I see their point, but like that's not their job. I mean, that's not like their job is to ultimately win. I mean, and if they feel like, you know, if they feel like going a different route, it's him being the fourth option, which I don't know that he is the fourth option. He's probably like the second or third.
Well, I mean, I think when they're all healthy, he might be the fourth option, but they're not all healthy all the time. He's the one that's healthy.
Yeah. So, but I see his point, but I wouldn't necessarily cave into it. But
sure, of course.
I think a trade here works for all sides. You know, like he'll be able to go somewhere, get the production, or get the, you know, and get the balls that he wants, and if they'll probably be able to get good value for him, and then they will get ahead of that contract, which they're probably not going to be able to pay out. I mean, barring some sort of substantial movement on the roster, like they'd have to get rid of some guys. You know,
I feel like there's still I think okay. So you say they should trade him. I understand it. It makes sense. You can't keep extending wide receivers, but I still feel like they extended Debo, and even though Ayuk's not in the Cabo clique yet, I think he's like a pledge. You know, I think they want him to be in it. I think they want him. He's really good, and I think they're not giving up on him. I think they're just trying to use this tough love approach. It's a little scary to trade him because he is good and he could flourish if he gets, you know, a better quarterback and more targets. So I think the way they're looking at it is Brock's their quarterback, even though he may not be. I think they're looking at it as Brock's their quarterback. They have at least like 5 years more cheap quarterback play, like 3 years of this rookie deal. And if they extend him, the first couple years probably be pretty low too. So they can afford to extend Brandon Aiyuk and have this Cabo clique really grow into a gang. I don't know. So I actually think they've budgeted for Brandon Aiyuk to stay. I just feel like the next year is going to be really tense and awkward because Brandon is a lot like Debo. I mean, he's proud, and Parag's going to test that. He's going to test that pride.
I don't know how are they going to fit that into, but I don't know. But the
same way they keep doing it with like Hargrave. It's like we'll give you a 4-year deal. And we'll give you a big signing bonus. So the first 2 years are pretty low against the cap, and you get it. And your large cap numbers are the last 2 years when there's no guaranteed money. I mean, that's what they keep doing. Let's see if Ayuk agrees to it.
But like Bosa's going to be going to get his deal. You know it.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge chunk out of their thing. Now they're starting to get other contracts that they did that with. Those are going to start hitting. You know, eventually they're going to have to pay. I don't know when is Lance. If they decide to continue with him, I mean,
yeah, because it's trending that direction. No, what I think is, I really think the Niners have convinced themselves they don't need a quarterback, and I think they might do this because if they sign Ayuk, it really locks themselves into not being able to sign a quarterback for a very long time, and I think they're cool with that, which I think is crazy.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy, but I think they're cool with it.
I would not.
Honestly,
I would not be cool with it.
They're vehemently against ever bringing quarterbacks to Cabo. Quarterback's not allowed. You can't be in the clique. You know what I'm saying? They take too much attention. They overshadow everything.
Because if you're in the Cabo clique, then Kyle doesn't get to hit the pizza oven like the quarterback.
Exactly. It's all about letting Kyle throw the football in Cabo. I'm telling you, I bet you they re-sign Brandon Aiyuk. I can't. I'm excited to see him tweet more because it's going to be painful.
You know, don't you think, and we had this combo on the side before too, don't you think that the 49ers might have had the Mike McGlinchey conversation with Aiyuk in the sense that hey, we know we can't bring you back. No, because to me with McGlinchey, they gave him that conversation. It was like, dude, we don't, it was, he were being nice. Dude, we don't like you. But that's not what they said. Dude, you're so good. You're so good. We can't afford you. Like, No. We don't want you. We think Colton McKivitz is just as good as you. So good luck. With Aiyuk, it's not that simple, man. They don't dislike Brandon Aiyuk. He's not Mike McGlinchey. He's damn good. And he might want $20 million a year. And that's where the Niners might balk and be like, well, you haven't been to a Pro Bowl. And we don't know. The thing is, though, if they trade him,
man, you kept Debo, who's older and less durable. You kept Kittle, who's older and less durable. Like, you kept McCaffrey, who's older and less durable. And you traded this guy who hasn't missed a game in 3 years. Like, I mean, he's not Buckner, but it feels like the Buckner move in the sense that you traded a guy who's a tone setter, who's durable, who gives you everything you want. He may not be as great as he thinks he is, but look at the guys you've invested in.
I'd agree.
They're old, you know?
I'd agree with you. It's that I think, like I said, I thought last year looking ahead, the move was trade Debo,
keep Aiyuk. Yeah,
keep Aiyuk.
But they already chose. chose.
So now the only move is Aiyuk, right? Like, that's the only move. But the thing is,
but let me ask you: would you do it now or would you do it next year? Because you don't have to do it now.
You probably get more value now. Depends what I would do it depending on what. It would depend on what a team was willing to give me.
What do you think his value is? He was a 25th pick in the draft 3 years ago. Could the Niners get more than that for him right now?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
What did the Eagles give away for AJ Brown? I can't remember.
Something in the teens, right? Late teens. Something late teens, I want to say.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
But I would take that. I would take a late first round pick for Aiyuk. Like.
Yeah.
But the Niners don't even have any first round. Like if the
Niners might mess that up and pick the wrong guy, but it seems like that worked out for the Vikings, right? Instead of giving Stephon Diggs money, who's very similar to Brandon Aiyuk, they traded him and drafted Justin Jefferson. That worked out.
Right. I mean, I think that if the 49ers...
The Niners last year, had they traded Debo, could have drafted Garrett Wilson, who was like a Rookie of the Year candidate. Right. Or if not the Rookie of the Year.
Right. With, like, no quarterback.
Right.
So they could conceivably get a late first round pick, and then they'd have enough ammunition to with what they have to maybe they can move up a few spots, move down a few spots because of the ammunition that they have. So, like, you know, they could turn that first round pick into, you know, another wide receiver or right tackle or another defensive line.
And like, once the Niners actually get a quarterback that they want and they pay and they have their franchise quarterback, this is what they'll have to do. And what they could do is essentially make this trade every 3 years. Get a guy, have him on his rookie deal, build up his value, trade him, do it again. Because again, it's not that hard. I feel like it's not hard to find wide receivers anymore. When we were kids, there would be a lot of wide receiver busts in the first round. But now I feel like most of them are good.
Or good.
They're supposed to be good.
Good or mid,
except for Jalen Reagor. Get better, drunk. He says, I agree with some stuff. I disagree with some stuff. Isn't that the story of life right there? That's life. Just for fun, tell us what you like about Kyle, why he's the right choice for us, devil's advocate. What I like about Kyle? Well, he is an offensive coach. It's good. You know, he is. It would be nice if he would build through his offense, but he's an offensive coach. He's very creative. I mean, he's very loyal to his dad's scheme, but he does seem like he can sort of, build his own stuff sometimes. What else do I like about Kyle Shanahan? I like his hat. His hats. He's got really nice hats. He doesn't really wear Yeezys anymore, which I appreciate. Sort of switched over to Jordans and Jordans. I feel like are a little played out at this point. I mean, it's 2023. Michael Jordan's 60 years old. What are we doing here? Jordans? Anyway, that's a tangent. What else do I like about Kyle Shanahan? His haircuts is always very well groomed. I think that's nice. He's tall. He made some nice catches at Texas. He was a good wide receiver. I can't even.
Kyle, the biggest knock on Kyle is his inability to solve the quarterback position, and that's pretty much going to decide his tenure at the 49ers. Like, whether he figures that out or not. Like, all coaches, even Andy Reid, who's held at the top right now, he has his faults too. But the one thing that is able to push
override.
He's able to solve that.
Yeah.
He's always been able to solve that quarterback position.
Always. And Kyle, it's like the last thing on Kyle's checklist. Man, that should be the first thing, man. Are you kidding?
Andy Reid has always developed and been able to produce quarterbacks. I mean, we've talked about it on this show before. Donovan McNabb was kind of like a shocker pick when he was chosen.
Yes, it was. Didn't his own fans boo him? They freaked out, right? The Eagles fans freaked out. Now they freak out about everything. but that was the right pick.
Right.
Alex Smith was the right choice. Then Patrick Mahomes, he never has a season where he's like, well, I went through 3. I didn't have a quarterback this year. That's his dad's career too. I'm telling you, man, the whole Shanahan legacy is built on Mike inheriting Steve Young and John Elway. After that, it's been this for like 25 years for the Shanahans.
And this whole thing with the 49ers and how people are, there's like polar opposites between the Brock, now it's like a Brock clique, and then the Lance clique, is because whether you like Brock or Lance, or you don't like any of them, or you like both, like, the problem is the 49ers don't have there's not a clear cut choice. Like, Chiefs fans aren't arguing over whether it should be Patrick Mahomes or the Eagles fans are arguing over who should, the
right.
teams that have their quarterback aren't arguing over who's the guy. Like, that's the problem. Like, if one of these guys had stepped up and it was so clear that they're the guy, it wouldn't be a problem. And that's, during this whole Kyle Shanahan tenure, they've been unable to solve the quarterback problem.
And again, most teams would be really frustrated by this, and it would mean like, man, if we don't have a quarterback, we're not really contenders. The Niners revel in it; they love it. Oh yeah, we don't know who our quarterback. It doesn't matter who our quarterback. We'll figure it out. We'll let them compete, and then the Cabo clique will go to Cabo and talk about it for a weekend, and then they'll come back and decide who the quarterback is, and and it's like after every game, it's like, hey, George, what do you think of the quarterback's play? Oh, some good, some not so good. It's like, okay, here comes Coach George breaking down the quarterback position like he's you know what I mean? The Niners love that, because the opposite on most teams is the only celebrity on the team is the quarterback, and every question is about him. Hey, George, what do you think of the every single question. And that's what Trey was bordering on. Every single question was about him. I don't think they like that.